Hello friends, John here again with another week of virtual all-staff devotions. Some of you may have seen these Welcome to Hong Kong brochures that are published by Island ICS. They're a great little introduction to Hong Kong, especially for expats. There's an MTR map in here, there's some helpful Cantonese phrases, some information about money, and some great places to visit. But you know, as I'm looking through this brochure, I think there's something missing. I don't see anything in here about civil unrest or protests, and absolutely nothing at all about the fear of a coronavirus. I guess those things are just not in the brochure. You know, expectations are something that we all have for almost everything we do in life. And when our expectations are fulfilled, they can be a powerful source of excitement for us. When our expectations are dashed, however, they can lead to tremendous disappointment. This last summer, Shelley and I decided to get away for a day and rent a small little one-room cabin at a state park. And we arrived to discover the cabin was nice, it was quaint, but there were literally dozens of annoying houseflies inside and out. And we also then discovered we were not allowed to gather our own firewood, but instead we had to pay extra to purchase a bundle of pre-cut logs. And when we finally got our fire going and we were almost done cooking our meal, an enormous storm blew in, and the sky unloaded a torrential rain, and we were frantically trying to get our food off the grill and all of our other things inside the cabin in the midst of this great downpour. Now, we laughed about it, we had fun with it, but it was certainly not the quiet, calm getaway that we had expected. In 1 Corinthians, Paul writes about the difference between human wisdom and God's wisdom, but he sneaks in a few remarks about the expectations of the Messiah. Listen to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, 21, 22, and 25. For since in the wisdom of God, the world through its wisdom did not know him, God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe. Jews demanded signs, and Greeks looked for wisdom. And then verse 25. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. Jews in Jesus' day had read the prophets, their brochures describing the coming of the Messiah. And Paul writes here that the Jews demanded signs, and the Greeks looked for wisdom. The Jews expected a victorious Messiah, signs and wonders accompanying a conquering king with power and majesty and glory. And the Greeks were a sophisticated bunch. They were concerned with the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge for its own sake. Jesus dashed both of their expectations. He did not come as a conqueror to please the Jews, nor as a philosopher to please the Gentiles. Instead, Jesus was a king who demonstrated his power through the sacrifice of his own life and his wisdom by preaching a message of selflessness and humility. Imagine what even Jesus' own followers might have been thinking as they watched their beloved master, teacher, and friend taken down from the cross and carried off for burial. What just happened? Wait a minute, Jesus, this is not what we followed you for. This was not in the brochure. How would our life brochure read if we were the ones that wrote it? Well, it probably wouldn't be much different than the expectations the Jews had for the Messiah. Oh, Jesus will solve all your problems. Jesus will make you happy. Jesus will defeat your enemies and those who've done you wrong. And Jesus will bring roses and ponies and rainbows. Now, to be fair, Jesus does provide peace, comfort, joy, satisfaction in life, but it's not always in the way that we might expect. Come to Jesus and sacrifice yourself? Follow Jesus and give your life away? Those are things that are probably not in the brochure. The Christian life, it has a way of not always turning out the way that we expect. We make our plans, we have our ideas about what God should do for us, we have our own self-focused motivations, but the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom. We strive to provide for our own security and our comfort in this life, but the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. Now, thankfully, through that foolishness and weakness, we're saved from our own expectations to discover God's higher wisdom and humble strength. And we learn to live a new life, one that we may not have expected. Expectations are good. We need them to accomplish tasks, to stay on track, and to plan for our future. But as we're discovering in these days, we must hold our expectations loosely, with open hands, ready to let God take them from us and take control of our lives, our expectations, and our futures. But that requires us to give up control, which we don't often like to do. For sure, keep your expectations high for your students, for your families, and for our city, but also be open to expecting the unexpected, not the least of which is the providence, care, and provision from God during these uncertain days. Once again, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I also hope that God surprises you in some amazing ways in the coming